G'day everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be doing the next beginner tip series video. Sorry it's been a while, but this one's going to take a lot to make. We're going to be doing Europe, as you can see, which is, this video will probably go for a long time, I don't know how long, but yeah, without too much stuffing around, let's get started. So we'll start with Iceland. So in Iceland, some very good clues are these pedestrian crossing signs. All European countries, for the most part, have distinctive pedestrian crossing signs. Very, very distinctive. They have a yellow triangle, whereas pretty much all European signs would have a white one instead. So you see this, you're gonna be in Iceland. These red bordered signs with yellow filled in, those signs are found in Europe, and specifically in Iceland, Finland, and Sweden. So it'll be one of those three countries that you're going to be in if you see these signs, and there's a few exceptions in other places as well, but mainly those three countries. Also, if you just move around a step to this way, we can see we can also see, just if you, Iceland only has Gen 3, they only covered it in Gen 3 camera there. Also, it's only white with a long antenna. That's the car they use there. And also, this is a very Icelandic street sign. This one with like a metal frame on it, white sign with metal frame. And the license plates will have no blue strip, as they are not part of the EU. So yeah, that's probably what I'd say about Iceland. And another one here I'd say is, this is a more rural location in Iceland. These are Icelandic signs. These ones are yellow with black arrow and a white highway shield. You can actually get the exact same ones as well, which we're about to cover next. Pretty famously, these are Icelandic bollards. The yellow ones with this like grey reflector on top as well. These clues are very of Iceland. And of course, the landscape, almost no trees around these very distinct mountains, also very indicative of Iceland. Next up is Faroe Islands, which is located right here between Iceland, Norway, and the UK. It's part of Denmark actually for country street purposes. But this is what the Faroe Islands looks like. Sort of like Iceland, but not really. These mountains are very, very distinctive. No trees around again. Very green mountains. But yeah, you see these kind of signs that look kind of Icelandic. But probably the big clue here is probably the Google Maps. And then you've got this mirror with actually a roof rack there as well. As you can see, you've got this little one here as well. It's a black car. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about here. Very distinctive place. You will see blue strips as is part of Denmark. So yep, that's Faroe Islands for you. Next up, we'll probably go to Norway. So in Norway, and by the way, in Faroe Islands, they only have Gen 3 coverage, just like in Iceland. No Gen 2, Gen 1, or Gen 4, or anything like that. But Norway, if it will just load in, please. Let's try that again. Sorry about this, guys. I'll just open it up here then, if it won't tell me. So in Norway, as you can see right here, we are in Norway. And first off, we have Gen 4 coverage, pretty common in Norway, this bright kind of camera. You can also find Gen 2 and 3 as well, but they're much rarer. Another very good clue for Norway here is these road lines, these long white outer dashes. You see these kind of long dashes on the outside of the road, this is a very good clue that you're in Norway. Sweden has similar ones, but they're a lot shorter, probably about half the length. Also, if you see green license plates on utility vehicles with I think the blue strip on the left side, those are only going to be in Norway. Those are Norwegian utility vehicle license. This is Norwegian language. I can tell this is Norwegian language. We've got this O with a line through it. That letter can only be found in Norwegian and Danish, so one of those two countries. But you can obviously tell by the landscape as well, which is the next clue. Norway has mountains everywhere. Like there's literally, you'll see mountains in every round you have in Norway. Very mountainous country, I'd say. And yeah, this is sort of a Norwegian style crossing sign. And this is sort of what Norwegian houses look like, these kind of red ones. And yeah, that's going to be Norway for you. So, yep. Next up, we'll go to Sweden. So Sweden can look quite similar to Norway sometimes. But here's one location. This is actually a rural one. As I said, they have these dashes as well, but as you can see, they are a lot shorter than the ones in Norway, about half the length side of the road. These dashes can actually also be found in Estonia, but maybe more prominently in Sweden. But just good to keep in mind, probably Sweden and Estonia use these dashes on the outside of the road. But the reason this is not Estonia is we have this yellow sign. As I said before, Sweden, Iceland and Finland have these signs with the red border. So this would have to be Sweden, 3 as well. And yeah, this is also a very Swedish / Norwegian house. This kind of red barn, red walls and the red roof. That's also a very, very, very Swedish thing. And of course, the birch trees. That's a very good thing to see that in Northern Europe, like Sweden, Finland, places like that. And yep, these are probably a better example of a house. In Sweden, this one's just an urban one in the capital city, I think. Yep, just an urban one in the capital city. That will get it up again here. So yeah, so this is an urban one in Sweden. We've got quite a few clues here to tell that we're not like in any other country, but we have to be in Sweden. We have this kind of like chevron thing. You can see this in chevron ways, like with an arrow. This yellow and blue thing, that's going to be because it's the Swedish colours of the flag, so that's obviously going to be a Swedish clue. It says Stockholm right there, that's the capital of Sweden. We have blue strips on license plates. You'll see that in also Norway, not in Iceland, but you can also see it in Finland as well. Also, if we have a little more of a look around, very houses looking like this, very colourful houses, colourful roofs, things like that. That's all very, very Swedish. If we zoom in on our street sign, we can see that this street sign says Gatan, so G-A-T-A-N, Gatan. That is the street ending for in Swedish, it means street in Swedish. So we see that you're going to be in Sweden as well. And yeah. Right, next on the list will be Finland. Now, how do I know this is going to be Finland? Well, first off, we have these kind of Argentina-Uruguay lines that you remember from the South America, Latin America video, where they have the solid yellow and the dashed white. These lines can be found in a few countries in the world, so as I said, Argentina, Uruguay, Finland, Philippines can also have them. But the point is, when you're in Europe and you have them, you're only going to be in Finland. They also use double yellows, like sort of like in the US and sometimes in Canada. So that's a good thing to know that they're only going to be in Finland. TIE means street in Finnish, so if you see this, you're going to be in Finland. This is Finnish street signs, where they're blue with white arrows. That's Finnish, not street signs, sorry, like road signs. As I said, yellow filled in signs with the red border is Finland, Sweden, and Iceland. And yeah, generally you have like a lot of these like pine and birch trees around. So yeah, and that's all I've got to say about this one. Some good clues for Finland. I guess we'll move to Denmark. Denmark is a country that has a few good old clues. First off, these are Danish bollards. These are the ones with a red stripe on top of the yellow reflector. They look kind of similar to Belgian bollards, which are yellow reflector, but they don't have this red thing on top. Also, it's a straight top rather than this tilted one. Also, if you see on commercial vehicles, you have yellow plates with a blue strip on the left side. That's going to be Denmark. Passenger vehicles will have white plates with the blue strip on the left side, because as in other countries in Europe, they will have the private passenger vehicles will have yellow plates. So only on commercial vehicles they'll have yellow plates in Denmark. Pretty common also these like short gaps in the outside road lines and in the middle kind of. That's a pretty Danish thing to do. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about this location. Here is another location in Denmark. This one is got some other clues that you could probably use to figure out that you're here. First off, you have these like signs with these like metal frames around them. If you see this with a colourful sort of blue or red sign, that's a pretty good clue that you're going to be in Denmark. Again, these kind of gaps in these road lines, it's a pretty dangerous thing to do as well. VEJ, Vej or Vej, however you say it, that's a Danish word for street. So if you see that, you're also going to be in Denmark. And as I said, white filled in signs with red border. Out of all the Nordic countries is going to be Norway and Denmark, because Iceland, Sweden, Finland have yellow filled in signs. So that's a good way of telling those countries apart. Let's go to UK and Ireland, I guess. Let's start in the UK. So in the UK, probably the best clue is, one good clue is that they drive on the left side. So if you're in Europe and you're driving on the left side, you're going to be in either UK, Ireland, or Malta. How do we tell them apart? Well, UK will have yellow back plates and white front plates. Ireland will not have this, and Malta just looks totally different. But the main difference is from Ireland, whereas Ireland would have white fronts and backs, whereas UK has yellow backs. Some plates can have blue strips on the left side of the UK, and some will not. Like this one doesn't, this one does, so it's a bit of a mixture in the UK, but the key difference is yellow backs, white fronts. That's a UK thing. These double yellow outer road lines are only found in a few countries in the world, or territories in the world. As I know, UK, Ireland, Hong Kong, and Singapore have these double yellow outer lines. But if you're in a European looking place, and you can be still near the UK or Ireland, so that's found in both. This kind of brick architecture is more of like a UK thing than Ireland. But obviously you can be seen in other European countries like Belgium and Netherlands, but between them two, probably lean UK over Ireland. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about that one. Here is another UK location, sort of more in the middle of the country. Another good clue for UK, Ireland, these hedgerows, pretty common in those two countries. You can sometimes see them in France as well, actually, so that's good to know. But the key difference from UK and Ireland here is that it says give way. I could say it underneath this sign or inside it, whereas Ireland would always say yield in the sign instead of give way. And also it says yards here, that's an imperial measurement. UK uses metric and imperial measurement, whereas Ireland I think only uses metric measurement. So that's another clue to tell them two apart. Here's a third location in the UK. Here we're just looking at just more of like a Gen 3 lock. By the way, UK can have Gen 2, 3 and 4. Same with Ireland, Gen 2, 3 and 4. So they can have all gens of camera. And this is a UK bollard. This black and white one with a red reflector UK bollard. These ones with like the yellow thing, and like that's a pretty British thing to do. And yeah, usually have solid, because Ireland can have some interesting road combinations, which I'll come to just in a moment. Man is this territory here. It's a territory that you just saw, and the important thing to know is they only have Gen 2 camera, so this like circular blur on the car and in the sky. This low will have these reddish orange strips on the license plate. As you see, red strip there, red strip there, and they'll have yellow back plates and white front plates like in UK, like just regular UK. But yeah, most of the cars will have these red strips. And yeah, that's a pretty good clue. You're going to be in Isle of Man. This is this territory right here between UK and Ireland. Another place that has coverage is Jersey down here. It has only Gen 2 coverage like the Isle of Man. Or Guernsey is another island down here, but that has no coverage. So never guess Guernsey, but you could be in Jersey. That's a country, a territory you could be in. So yeah. And if we'll just load in here, I think we're in Jersey here. And yeah, they're right next to France, but they're part of the UK. So that's another good thing to know. And for country strict purposes, Isle of Man and Jersey count as part of the UK. So yeah. Sorry if this is not loading, let's just pull it up in here, I guess. Jersey can sometimes look quite similar to the Isle of Man, but there are some key differences you could sort of like see. So again, they only have Gen 2 coverage. The plates are usually yellow with sort of sometimes this kind of reddish strip on the plate. It sort of looks similar to the one in Isle of Man, but it's a little bit different. And the key difference that you have from Jersey from the rest of the UK is they use yellow telephone booths. As all of the UK will use red ones, Jersey uses yellow ones. That's a very good clue that you're going to be in Jersey and you're never going to be in the UK. Also, as Jersey close to the France. They have this kind of English, and they have this other language that looks so similar. It's sort of like a language it's very close related to French, but not exactly French. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about this one. That's that one done. And I guess let's now move. So that's all the UK territories, and we'll just do Gibraltar at the end, just down there. But next, let's move on to Ireland. Ireland, as you know, as you probably noticed now, they drive on the left side. This is pretty typical Irish signage. You got this like Irish language mixed with the English. It's sort of this kind of language, N roads, but it's pretty common to have these white signs with Irish mixed with English on it. This yellow diamond sign is more of an America's thing to do, see like in North and South America. But if you're in Europe, just based on vibes, and you're also driving left, the only country in Europe that does this is Ireland. No other country in Europe does this, not even the UK. So you're always going to be in Ireland if you're in Europe. If you're in Ireland and you have it, you're always going to be in the Dublin region. And if you're in the UK, you're always going to be in the London region. So that's a good thing to know as well. And as you said, they got white front plates and white back plates, which usually do have the blue strip on the left side. And the second location, a rural location in Ireland, is this one. So how do I know this is Ireland? We get some easy clues to know this is an island. We can tell we're driving left, as these chevrons would like go that way, like that. But if you have these yellow and black ones and you're a left-hand drive country in Europe, this is going to be Ireland. Ireland have these chevrons. UK has black and white chevrons instead of black and yellow ones. Other European countries have these kind of chevrons too, but if you're in a 50-50 between UK and Ireland, Ireland will have yellow and black chevrons. Another very good clue for Ireland here is these yellow dashes on the side of the road. If you see these yellow dashes on the side of the road and you're driving left, you're going to be in Ireland, as that's one of the only countries in the world I think that does that. I think but Ireland is a pretty key country if you see the and white middle ones. So yeah, that's probably the clues like how I'd get Ireland there. And the last UK territory is down at the bottom of Spain here. It's called Gibraltar. Gibraltar, as you may have noticed from these UK territories and UK and Ireland, UK drives left, Ireland drives left, Jersey drives left, and Isle of Man drives left too. But in Gibraltar, they drive on the right for whatever reason. They were colonised by the UK. As you can see, they got yellow back plates, white front plates, but they drive on the right side for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's probably just part of the link with maybe Spain or something like that. But it's a very Mediterranean looking country. You'd have some Spanish, you'd have some English around as well. Yeah, GBS is pretty common to see on cars. But that good silver tape on top. So you see this car and you're in this kind of Mediterranean looking place with yellow plates, blue strips as well, driving right, you're going to be in Gibraltar. So yep, that's that done there. Right, next we'll move on to Portugal. So here we are in Portugal. How do I know this one is in Portugal, my friends? Well, we have Gen 2 camera, which is found a lot in Western Europe and Southern Europe. Portugal has Gen 2 camera, so does Spain, Italy, Greece has it too. But the clues for Portugal here is these no hunting signs. So this are kind of odd. It's a good clue, you're only going to be in Portugal. This is another type in the diamond shape with the circle. That's another type of the Portuguese no hunting sign. You've actually got both here. These ladder poles are mainly in Europe, found in Spain, Portugal and France. But if you have the holes in the ladder pole, that's only going to be in Portugal. Here's a better example here, you know, the holes through the section, like ladder poles. And yeah, these kind of trees are pretty Portuguese, pine trees, these kind of stuff is all very Portuguese. Also a very Portuguese house as well. And yep, this is good clues for Portugal. And here's another one for Portugal. This one, we are a Gen 4 coverage, you know. Again, these tiled houses are very Portuguese, also very common in Spain, Italy and Greece. But obviously other European countries as well, like Croatia, and it's found in a lot of countries. Here's the back of the pole, it looks like. It has sections through it at the front, and the back of it has these holes poking through it. These are the Portuguese license plates that were used from 2005 until 2020. They have the blue strip on the left and the yellow strip on the right. These plates are exclusive to Portugal, won't find them anywhere else. But they stopped using them in 2020, so on very new coverage you'll find plates like this with just the blue strip on the left side, no yellow strip on the right side. So you may use these plates while they can before we turn back to these plates. Portuguese flag as well, they sometimes appear, not very often, just randomly in this location. Again, Portuguese plates. This pavement is very common, this white cobblestone pavement. This is a very Portuguese thing to do on a lot of pavements, on sidewalks, on islands in the middle of roads and that. And yeah, this is pretty common pavement to see in Portugal. Next, we'll move to Spain. Spain is got some decent clues. This is a Spanish bollard. It's white, has black, and also the yellow reflector with sometimes a number underneath the reflector. They can be flat, or they could be more 3D with a sort of like lip shape at the top, sort of sticking out at the top. That's a Spanish thing to do. Spanish reflectors and guardrails are pretty much always yellow. Sometimes can be orange, but they're always that kind of color. The only other European country that has this is Andorra. Spain and Andorra share a lot of the same stuff. I believe Andorra can rarely have bollards and they look like this one. This is typical Spanish signage. Madrid, Cordoba, Toledo, all big Spanish cities. But yeah, this is a blue kind of signage. These roads, CM roads, that's a region sort of road, and the E roads are more of like a national kind of thing. And yeah, very Spanish looking landscape with this kind of greenery, this sandiness and these shrubs, all very indicative of Spain. Here's another location in Spain. This one we have actually a Spanish crossing sign. Now if you see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 dashes on the side, and of all European countries that have this, you're only going to find this in Spain, and also, you guessed it, Andorra, as Andorra shares a lot of the same signage as Spain. But this looks nothing like Andorra. We'll show Andorra a bit later, just after this, a bit later on. But if you're a looking country with this sign, you're going to be in Spain. Also, not a good thing to note that Spain is the only European country that has this flat signpost. Instead of it being round and like circular, it's more of this flat kind of square thing and more flat on the surface. So that's a good clue. We have Camino, obviously some Spanish language. Around again, you got flat signposts. I think you can also see them sometimes in France, but more often in Spain. And yeah, that's probably what I'm going to say here. Again, this kind of architecture, very Spanish. Spanish and Portuguese architecture can look very similar, so yeah, that's probably what I'm going to say here. Also, Spain doesn't have yellow strips on their plates, they're mainly just a blue strip on the left side. Keep in mind, you can see Portuguese cars travelling in Spain, as you know, cars can travel, but most of the time you always have the blue strip cars in Spain. And on the third location in Spain is this one. We have Calle, C-A-L-L-E. That means street in Spanish. So it's going to be in a Spanish-speaking country. If you're in Europe, always going to be in Spain. These kind of no entry signs with no white border on the edge, that is a very Spanish thing to do. As most European countries, no entry signs will have a white border around the edge. Whereas Spanish signs don't have this border at all, they're just red all the way to the edge. This is a very typical Spanish stop sign. This kind of font, very distinct, sort of like shorter, boxy kind of font. This is very Spanish. And similar ones do exist in Andorra, you guessed it. Yeah, it's probably all good to say for Spain. Next, we'll move to Andorra. So Andorra, very, very, very distinctive country in GeoGuessr. It's pretty much all Gen 3, so you won't find Gen 4 at all. You can sometimes find Gen 2. There is a bit of Gen 2 around in Andorra, but it's mainly just Gen 3. The license plates will have no blue strips at all. They're kind of just like shortish, kind of small and shortish plates. These are all Andorran plates. They might have these funny colours on them too. Andorran flags, blue, yellow with a crest in the middle and red. But the very typical thing, those are sort of the small clues, but the very big clues are the hills. These are very distinctive Andorran hills. we're just here in Andorra la Vella, the capital city. Also, this kind of rock stone architecture. This is very Andorran. You'll not find this anywhere else. Maybe occasionally in southern France and northern Spain, but most of the time I just go Andorra here. Very distinctive place, distinctive hills, distinctive buildings, just distinctive everything. And of course you'll have a lot of Spanish style stuff, like Spanish signage, like no white borders on the signs. So Spanish sort of language. It's actually Catalan is what they speak here. But yeah, that's probably all I got to say about Andorra. Oops. Let's move back over here. Yeah, let's move to let's go to Monaco. Monaco is this little country down here. It's actually just on the coast of France. Second smallest country in the world. And we have written into some unofficial coverage, unfortunately. I don't know why that is. Let's just go back into Monaco. But Monaco, this tiny little country here on the south of France. I think a lot of you know it's a very, very, very famous country. Just for how small it is, and because it's also very famous for its distinct looks that you find here, as you won't find this kind of look anywhere else in the world really. So if we just drive down here to the actual port, yeah, so here we go. So Monaco recently got updated to Gen 4 as well, so most of the locations you get here should be in this Gen 4. Coverage is bright colour with a blue car. You can get Gen 2 though, quite stuck in Gen 2 for a long time, but now it's all Gen 4. This is kind of what it looks like. We can move around a bit. If we move down this way a bit. Here we go, actually go into Gen 2. You can sort of, when you move around, you can go into Gen 2. But this is what it looks like. You can have these kind of like French style plates, the yellow back plates, it's very French. Obviously you have a lot of like European plates, or travellers kicking about. This is what it looks like. You're looking along this sort of bay area with all these houses in the background and massive hills in the background, and you also have this white buildings and these boats here in the port. This is all very distinctive of Monaco. You won't find it anywhere else in Europe. If you see this city even like 2 or 3 times, you can just recognise it every single time. It's just such a recognisable city. Yep, so that's all I've got to say about Monaco. And sorry for this kind of stuff. But yep, very distinctive place. And of course their flags as well, you can see right. Their flags are kind of like that as well. But that's Monaco for you. Next, I guess, since we're talking a lot about France, let's just move on to France. So France, we got 3 locations. No, just 2 locations actually in France. So France, you've got the French language, as you can see. I think a lot of people can identify French language. Cité de médiévale. This is all very French. These signs, these white signs, the Paris, French capital city. These D roads and these yellow ones with like 3 numbers after, these are French roads. They're almost impossible to find on the map, the exact 953 road, but these are French roads. So if you see that, you're going to be in France. And yeah, Gen 4, Gen 2 and Gen 3 can be found here. Occasionally Gen 1 actually as well in France, but mainly just those 3 gens. Again, you've got the ladder poles with the set like in Portugal. So pretty much the same poles exist in Spain as well, so you've got to be careful about that, but they do exist in France too. And the second location in France is this one. Here we have a very, very typical French bollard. It's the white one with a kind of like a cone top pointing up, and it's got a red reflector all the way around. It's a very thick and chunky bollard, a lot thicker than all the other ones in Europe. But this bollard is pretty much always in France. Can be very, very similar ones exist in Scotland, but that would be for another time. Not talking about now, but they're mainly going to be in France. And of course, France drives right. We're set up for right-hand drive. Scotland drives left as part of the UK. Again, you got this kind of French signage as well. This is a very French pole, ladder kind of pole with small sections. And this pole top's very French, Spanish, and Luxembourgish, I'd say, is where this pole top's mainly. And yeah, you have these bollards. This is probably the main clue for France here. Actually, another good thing to note here is when you have this short antenna, you're always going to be in Europe, not any specific country in Europe. Just most European countries have this antenna. Because if you see this antenna, you can't be in North America, for example. That's just a very, very important clue to know actually as well. So just letting you guys know that this antenna is pretty much in most European countries, but never in North America. North American cars in Canada and USA never have any antennas. So you can immediately eliminate North America. But yeah, this is going to be France because of that stuff here as well. Right, let's move to Italy. So in Italy, probably the most famous clue to get the country is their license plates that they use there. They have these double blue short narrow front plates at the front. They're very distinct and only going to be in Italy. And their back plates will be double blue, but they'll be like sort of like longer dimensions, sort of like similar to the rest of Europe with longer dimensions, but I have double blue on both sides. Very distinctive plates, double blue on both sides, but very narrow at the front. These are very distinctive to Italy. Albania also has these plates, but they'll have long at the front as well and long at back, whereas Italy has short at front. Via is the common word for street in Italian. These are also very Italian signs, also found in San Marino, which we'll talk about in a second. San Marino is another country that has coverage, but Italy again has Gen 2, 3 and 4, and San Marino doesn't have Gen 3 or 4. Any other clues I'd say briefly here? These darker sort of grey or black back of the signs in Europe are only really found in Italy, San Marino, Albania, Romania and Germany, I'd say. I can't think of any other places where you'd find that. Those are probably the main countries that have this like dark grey or black kind of back of the sign. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about that one. Next we'll go to our northern location in Italy. Again, you got these license plates, double blue, narrow front plate at the front. But these are Italian bollards, these ones. They are white with a black cap on top with a red reflector inside the black cap. These bollards are quite, however, they can be found, the exact same ones can be found in San Marino and Albania. So you've got to keep an eye out for them. But this is Gen 4 coverage. Albania and San Marino Gen 4 coverage. Albania only has Gen 3 and San Marino only has Gen 2. Italy, also these SS roads with a blue background, these are also pretty Italian. You also have SR and SP roads, they're also Italian as well, so if you see that, you're going to be in Italy. And yeah, usually just all white lines, pretty solid lines throughout, and yeah, that is also pretty common in Italy. Also, not to mention the language, this is a very Italian language with the I endings. So yeah, all very indicative of Italy. Now we move on to a good one. This is San Marino, located right here in Italy. And as I told you, only Gen 2 camera in San Marino exists there. As I said, these dark grey or black back of the signs are found mainly in Italy, San Marino, Albania, Romania and Germany. So San Marino is one of them. You can find a lot of Italian cars driving through Italy, the two blue strips on both sides. You got to be careful with that one. But some San Marino license plates like this one here, this one too, excuse me, and they have no blue strips and they're a bit narrower, sort of like Italian plates as well, but they'll be front and back narrow. So those are kind of San Marino plates. Only Gen 2 camera, you know, this like circular blur on bottom and on top. But a very, very, very good clue for San Marino is the blue crosswalk. The white stripes and the blue painted crosswalk, that is only going to be in San Marino. I've never ever seen that in Italy and all my game experience. You're always going to be in San Marino when you have these blue crosswalks. So even though you see Italian license plates, blue crosswalks, San Marino for some easy points. Also, we're a very mountainous country, San Marino. You're always very, very high up. You always be on some mountains, and yeah, that's probably a clue that you're going to be in San Marino. So that's San Marino for you. Next, I guess we'll go to Malta. Malta, right down here at the bottom, just under Italy, just into Sicily here is Malta. So in Malta, they drive on the left side. That is probably the key clue to tell it apart from like some other Mediterranean countries like Spain or Italy or Greece or something, that they drive on the left side. As you can see, car driving through here, the other car will drive up here, which means they're driving on the left. You'll see this kind of Maltese kind of language, these dashes and TAs, but also a lot of English around as well, as they were colonised by the UK. So let's say Auto Parts Ltd, all very English. You can find some cars, I don't know if there's any in this location, they have this sort of weird kind of blue strip, which is sort of like on an area, but you can also find that too. And everything's sort of made out of this like white buildings, and you have all this rock kind of, or brick walls everywhere as well. That is also a very good clue that you will be in Malta. Right, so I guess now we'll move on to, let's go to Belgium, I think. Yeah. So Belgium, here we are in Belgium, and in Belgium, it can be quite difficult to tell apart sometimes, but here we have some good clues that we are in Belgium. We have this kind of French language, which is obviously in France, also in Belgium. This kind of, so rue means street in French, you find that in France and Belgium. The key difference here from France is you have these orange backs on the sides and these orange poles. This is actually a very good clue for Belgium. You're never going to find this in France, only going to be in Belgium. Another pretty famous clue you've probably heard from people like GeoGuessr and other people like that is the Belgian license plates. They have blue strips on the left side, and they're kind of reddish tinted, as you can sort of see. I can sort of see these plates have a sort of kind of reddish kind of hint to them. They're a bit tinty reddish. They're not fully red, but they're a bit reddish, as you can see here. That is because the characters are red on the license plates, which makes it very distinct. And yeah, those are Belgian license plates. Also, another thing to mention, the brick architecture, very Belgian to see as well. And yeah, that's all I probably got to say about this location. Right, next location is another one in Belgium, and it's this one right here. So we first off have these square concrete poles with the little dots in them, if you can see these little dots, you know, running down them. That is a very typical Belgian pole with some metal guards around it too. That's not going to be anywhere else in Europe, I don't think. We also have these kind of gutters on the side of the road, these like concrete things, these little gutters you have, you know, on the side of the road to let water through. That's a very Belgian thing. You don't find that really in many places in the world. And of course these brick houses, very Belgian as well. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about Belgium. Another thing to mention is that in the southern half of Belgium they speak French, in the northern half they speak Dutch. Speaking of Dutch, let's go to the Netherlands. So the Netherlands has got some pretty famous clues. The first one's probably the license plates. As you know, they have yellow back license plates and yellow front license plates with the blue strip on the left side. These plates are only in 3 countries in the entire world: Netherlands, Luxembourg, which we'll come to next, and Israel as well, which we'll talk about in the Asia video. But when you're in Europe, you're going to be in the Netherlands or Luxembourg. This kind of crosshatch pavement, brown pavement, this is very, very Dutch. If you see this pavement, you should always go to the Netherlands. And yeah, houses also very Dutch as well. These kind of brick houses, sort of similar to Belgium as well. Also very Dutch. And yeah, very good clues. We are in the Netherlands. Here's another location in the Netherlands. This one's got some Dutch signage with these blue signs pointing to places. This is very Dutch as well. Yeah, that's probably the main clue you have here for the Netherlands. Of course, you got like clues like of course you got the yellow plates clues, you know, the blue strip, but otherwise this is very Dutch signage, and so is this as well. This is also pretty good clues for the Netherlands. Let's go to Luxembourg. So in Luxembourg, this is pretty typical Luxembourgish signage with these yellow signs, these yellow roads, and the black arrows with the white borders around. A little bit like Denmark, but not really. Pretty different, I'd say, to Denmark. They actually speak Luxembourgish French here, and as I said, they got these yellow plates with a blue strip on the left side. As you can see, all cars have it. The big difference maybe from the Netherlands is their hills. Netherlands is completely flat, but in Luxembourg you can find these hills around the place, you know. You would never get a hill like this big in the Netherlands. And also the black roofs on like all the houses, like as you can see, pretty much all the houses have these black roofs. That is a very Luxembourgish architecture, not really found much elsewhere in Europe. Let's go to Germany next. So as I did a video a couple months ago about Germany getting Gen 4 coverage, it's now only Gen 4. Whereas in places like Luxembourg, Belgium, Netherlands, you can find Gen 2 and Gen 4 and even a bit of Gen 3 as well there. Whereas Germany is only Gen 4. And the first thing to note is these bollards. These bollards are found in Germany and Luxembourg. Luxembourg wouldn't have this blue thing though. This blue thing is exclusive to Germany. But without it, you can see those also in Luxembourg. Also the yellow signage, kind of similar to Luxembourg as well. And of course you got German language as well because it's Germany. Blue Gen 4 cast sometimes with an antenna as well. But yeah, it includes probably the bollards here and the Gen 4. So that is going to be Germany for you. Let's move to Switzerland. Good thing about Switzerland is that you can sort of get it by language, as like this part of Switzerland here speaks French, this middle part and northern part speaks German, and this southern part speaks Italian, and this like southeastern part speaks Romance, which is a bit different. But we are in a French part of Switzerland. But the famous thing about Switzerland is it has low camera, which you can see we're sort of a bit lower to the ground, sort of like in like lower than this bus even, the camera is sitting lower. And the way you can tell this is low cam is by this big blur on the car. It has to be, it's not Gen 2 because it's got a few bumps in it, but it's like this wide blur on the car with some bumps. And yeah, no halo in the sky. So this is Generation 3 low camera. Also the Switzerland pedestrian crossing signs, they have 7 dashes, similar to Spain and Andorra, but they've got 8. So if you have 7, you're going to be in Switzerland. Also these yellow crosswalks, this is also very Swiss. And yeah, some just yellow parking road lines is also very Swiss as well. Another Swiss location is this one. This one is a Gen 4 example, because you can get Gen 3 and Gen 4 in Switzerland. This is a Gen 4 low cam example. As you can sort of tell, we got a bit of this wide blur on the car again. But yeah, you can also find this low cam in Japan as well, which we'll talk about in the Asia video. But this is, yeah, in Switzerland, only in Europe it's going to be in Switzerland. Swiss plates have no blue strip on the left side, and they're kind of short, like Italian plates. But they're sort of like, yeah, they're like Italian plates with no blue strips at all. That's probably a good way of telling it apart as well. But yeah, this is like a Gen 4 example. Typical Swiss signage as well. You can see we got blue strip signs with some directions to like different places. And yeah, we are sort of more of in the northern part of Switzerland, so all that will be in German. As you can see, Zurich and Bern, big cities in Switzerland. So that's Switzerland for you. Let's move to, let's go to Austria. Austria is right here. First thing notice about Austria here is we have these bollards. These ones kind of look like Australian bollards with a black hat on top. But the difference probably between, you can also get these bollards in Slovenia and Montenegro, but the difference between them is this reflector is a bit darker, whereas in Slovenia and Montenegro it'd be more like light red, but here it's like dark red, almost even black, as you can see right there. So that's probably a good way of telling it apart. The darker reflector is pretty much an Austrian thing only. Also these kind of signage, these town signs with the blue border, that's also very Austrian. Houses are very Germanic and Austrian, these kind of roofs and colours, this is very, very Austrian. Also very mountainous country, you see hills and mountains everywhere. And yeah, that's probably the main clues. And of course they speak German here in Austria. So that's that done. And let's move to, let's go to Czechia. Czechia might be next on the list actually. So Czechia and Slovakia are 2 countries in Europe that are famously hard to tell apart from each other, but there's some good clues you can tell them apart. So how do I know this is Czechia? Well, this bollard, this white one with the black and the two orange reflectors, this bollard is found in Czechia and Slovakia, so that's not going to tell them apart. But if you see this bollard, you're going to be in one of those two countries. Okay, this sign here, this is a Czech exclusive sign. You're never going to find this in Slovakia. We have this blue sign with these white arrows, which can either be pointing left or right or even forwards. But yet only sign. Also, we got some Czech specific letters. This R with this little hashtag or this little hat on top, that is a Czech only letter. You'll never find that in Slovak. Same with the Z with the hat on top, that is only in Czech, never Slovak. And the languages can be similar, but you have these sort of differences like I just mentioned. Slovak also got some differences as well, but these are probably the two good ones. This R and Z letter with the hats, that's Czech only. And yeah, you can find Gen 3 and Gen 4 in both countries. But yeah, that's probably the main clues I have for that one in Czechia. And here we are in Slovakia. Slovakia, you know, has these bollards too, as you can see, these orange reflectors. That is found in Slovakia as well. But in general, you find more of these mountainous areas and sort of hilly areas in Slovakia, because it's just, if you look at the terrain in the two countries, there's more like hills and mountains in Slovakia than in Czechia. Czechia's only got mountains around the border, whereas Slovakia's got hills through most of this area. So you're more likely to find hills in Slovakia. This red Gen 4 car with the antenna, that's a Slovak thing. You won't find that in Czechia at this moment. It might change in the future though. But also these guardrails, these kind of B-type guardrails are a bit like taller, a bit longer with the holes in them. Those guardrails are only found in Czechia and Slovakia. So if you see them, you're going to be one of those two countries. These signs are pretty Slovak. The Czech ones are a bit different. The font is not as thick here in Czechia, and there's always like a white in Czechia. But in Slovakia, they just have the black border and the thicker font. So that's another way how you can tell Czechia and Slovakia apart. Right, so let's go, I don't know, we'll maybe leave Poland and we'll go to Slovenia. Slovenia is maybe another place we should look at. So Slovenia, as I said, you find these bollards in Austria, Slovenia and Montenegro. But as you said, in Austria, the reflector was a lot darker, whereas here in Slovenia, the red reflector is a lot more red and lighter color. You can find those same bollards in Montenegro. Difference from Montenegro here is this is Gen 4 camera, this brighter quality camera. Montenegro at this point only has Gen 3 coverage, but Slovenia can have Gen 3 as well. Gen 3 and 4 exist in Slovenia. These yellow kind of signs are found in Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro mainly. Can be also found in North Macedonia and Serbia as well, so most of these Eastern European countries have it. But these kind of J ending and these kind of C's with the hats, this is all very Slovenian looking language, I could tell. And yeah, they use these A-type guardrails, the rounded ones, not the flat ones like in Czechia and Slovakia. And yeah, that's probably the main tips I'd use to get to Slovenia here. Next, let's go to Hungary. Hungary has some pretty famous metas, I must say. They've got the holy poles. Holy poles in Europe are mainly found in Hungary, Romania and Poland. Whereas in Hungary, the holes go to the ground, you have holes in the ground. In Poland, they won't go to the ground. You can find similar ones in Romania, but usually in Romania, they'll be painted white at the bottom. And they're even thicker than this. So that's probably how I tell the holy pole countries apart. Also, Utca, U-T-C-A, Utca, that's street in Hungarian. So if you see that, you're also going to be in Hungary. Again, the holy poles, very Hungarian style architecture, these kind of houses. This is all very Hungarian, and yep, probably the clues for Hungary. And here is another location in Hungary. This is a more rural one. We have these bollards, these white ones with the black and then the red reflector. These bollards are found mainly in Hungary and Croatia. They are very similar bollards, so yeah, good to keep in mind. You can also rarely find them like in North Macedonia and Serbia. That's more rarely. This is a very typical Hungarian sign with the green one and this kind of font on the signs. It's all very Hungarian. The SZs is also quite Hungarian to see. That's a language they have in Hungary with lots of SZs. And yeah, these like numbers, road numbers, are also very Hungarian as well. So yep, that's probably how to get Hungary here. Let's go to Croatia. So Croatia, well, it has Gen 3 and 4 camera, like Hungary also has it, so not maybe the most helpful. But in older coverage in Croatia, you won't usually see the blue strip on the left side. There'll be pretty much no cars with blue strips because they weren't in the EU back in the older coverage, but now that you should see blue strips. This one doesn't have it, I think that one has it. So in the new Gen 4 coverage, you can have a bit of a mix of cars that have blue strips and cars that don't. This is signage, as I said, yellow signs can be found in Croatia as well. Zagreb obviously being the capital, but you can see these green signs in Croatia as well. Croatia doesn't really have that many sort of specific country-specific Croatian signage. And yeah, also another thing, dude, in Europe, never trust trucks, because trucks travel a lot. Croatia's domain name is not DE, that's Germany's domain name. Trucks can travel a long way, so this one's traveled obviously all the way from Germany, now it's in Croatia. Important to know, never ever trust trucks, because you know they can travel from big, always look for like things like signs and cars nearby, because they don't travel as much, and the houses obviously in poles and things like that, and bollards. So yeah, that's probably all I've got to say about Croatia. Right, next we'll go to Romania. So Romania's probably a country you guys have been wanting to see for a while now. Well, here it is. So in, oh goodness, sorry guys, we're in some RE coverage. Let's move over here. Yep, so here we go. We're in Romania here, which can have Gen 3 and Gen 4 mainly. Can very occasionally have Gen 2, but not very often. This is the Romanian road. So road signs, they're blue and they have these red highway shields. Pretty Romanian. Holy poles, as I said, Hungary, Romania and Poland. These look similar to Hungarian ones, but usually, if I can find one, a bit of paint or some stickers on them here. I think there's a bit of paint on that one, but usually they're painted at the bottom, but not always. They can look quite similar to Hungarian ones. Some Romanian flags here, that looks exactly like Chad's flag. Yeah, in Bucharest, Brasov, big Romanian cities. Yeah, they have pretty thick road lines in Romania, is another thing I've noticed there. And yeah, obviously a very hilly as well. And the language is kind of like this kind of thing. I'm sure once you see Romanian a lot, you can sort of kind of language like this. Next on the list, we'll go to Serbia. So in Serbia, you only have Gen 3 coverage at this point, no Gen. Most of the coverage in Serbia has the no antenna coverage, so most of Europe, as you saw in France, has a little antenna on it. With Serbia and North Macedonia as well, you really don't have an antenna at all. Serbia can occasionally have it, like in Belgrade, but North Macedonia have the antenna. Yeah, and also in Serbia, some of the North Macedonia, pretty much none of the cars will have blue strips on them, or very few will, but in Serbia most of them will. Also, in Serbia they use flat. That's another good way to tell Serbia and North Macedonia apart. Next we'll go to North Macedonia. Macedonia, as I said, you'll never really see an antenna on a car. I don't think I've ever seen an antenna on a car in North Macedonia. In Serbia I have occasionally, but North Macedonia I've never ever seen a North Macedonia as well. Only Gen 3 coverage, just like Serbia. See, none of the cars really have any blue strips on them. I think them all might, but most of the cars will not have blue strips on them. Yeah, this is a pretty simple scope here with the mountains and the divided roads. Just the capital city sort of vibes here, you know. This is all very typical of North Macedonia. And yeah, this is the kind of, they use Cyrillic. They use that in Serbia and North Macedonia as well, so it's a good thing to know as well. And yep. Let's go to Montenegro. So Montenegro, again, only Gen 3 camera, so a lot of these Eastcons especially only have Gen 3 coverage at this point. May get Gen 4 in the future, but at this point only Gen 3. As I said, these bollards here, these ones are found in Austria, Montenegro and Slovenia mainly, so you can find them in Montenegro, but I said about how to tell them apart in other countries. But the big here is these rifts in the sky, these cracks. You can find this in Europe, in Montenegro and Albania. You can find it in Senegal as well in Africa, but most of that is only in Gen 3 coverage. Senegal is mainly Gen 4. But in Europe, you'll find these rifts in Montenegro and Albania. There are parts to both countries that won't have rifts, so it doesn't mean you're not in Montenegro or Albania. It's just if you do have them, you will be there. Montenegro is you have the blue strip on the plate, and yeah, sometimes can have the B-type guardrails, and it's a very hilly country with lots of trees around as well, so this is some good clues for Montenegro. Next we'll go to Albania. So Albania can be confused with Montenegro, but maybe more so with Turkey because of the language, their culture, things like that. But as you remember, in Montenegro, they have the single blue strip on the left side, whereas in Albania, you can get two types of plates. You can get the ones with blue strips on both sides, like this one, or this one, or this one. Blue strips on both sides of the plates, kind of like in Italy, but the front will also be narrower. And these are the old plates. They have the red strip on the left side. You can also find this red strip in Kyrgyzstan in Asia, but we'll talk about that later and later on in a later video. But in Europe, if you have the red Albania, blues, wide front and back, these are all good clues for Albania. It's all Gen 3 cam as well, and usually on a lot of houses, I don't know if you can see here, you have a lot of these tanks on top of the houses, these water tanks. Obviously minarets, a bit of a Muslim thing in Albania and Turkey as well. Let's go to Bulgaria. I reckon I should just stop by Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, you can find Gen 3 and 4 camera, so there is Gen 4 coverage available in Bulgaria. These signs are very typical with Cyrillic and Latin equivalent for, like, for example, Sofia. The blue roads. Blue road signs are also very Bulgarian. In Bulgaria, some concrete ones mainly, quite interesting there. Blue strips on the plates, Bulgarian flag, also quite a hilly country as well, so it can be similar to Romania. The thing with Romania is Bulgaria is the lines are a bit thinner. In Romania they're a bit thicker than usual, so it's probably hard to tell those two countries apart. Let's go to Greece. I think we'll go to Greece now. Greece, country down here. It has quite a bit of Gen 2, a bit of Gen 3, and quite a bit of Gen 4, so you can find all Greece. These are some of the common plates here. They're kind of shorter plates with no strips on them. These are Greek plates, but there are that do have the blue strip on the left side, but some of them can be like this with no strips at all. The double white road lines are pretty Greek, especially in Balkans. That's a pretty good clue for Greece. Also, this is pretty Greek language, like the Greek strip is very learnable. And wooden poles are very, very common in Greece. And yeah, that's probably all the clues I got to say here. Let's go to Turkey. Turkey's mainly in Asia, but I've considered it part of Europe because it's probably, you can confuse it more with European countries than Asian ones. So in Turkey, you have the typical Turkish bollards, which are these white ones with a red reflector. Look very similar to the Australian bollards, but Australia drives left, Turkey drives right, so you shouldn't be able to confuse them. There's a good example there. DUR, DUR on stop sign. Any other country, if you see DUR, always go Turkey every day of the week. These blue signs are also quite Turkish too, and also these like black and yellow sign things with the blue arrows. And yeah, this is a pretty Turkish landscape, I must say so myself as well. Let's head over to let's maybe go to Poland. Yeah, let's go to Poland. So in Poland, you have these typical green signs with the red highway numbers. That's sort of pretty good Polish clues. These OW endings are the yellow sign with a thin red border, as you can see. Lots of the Nordic ones, but with a thin red border. That's a very Polish sign. Double white road lines, as I said, that's pretty Polish when you're in that part of Europe. And yep, holy poles can be seen there, and the holes do not go all the way to the ground in Poland. So yeah, all good clues for Poland. I actually got another location in Poland. It's this one. So if we head over here, excuse me. No, it's not loading. Just wish I open it here then. Going up. If it won't load in, then we'll just get it in Street View. And yeah, here I want to show you Polish bollards. These are Polish bollards. They're white ones with sometimes numbers and letters on them with a red reflector at the front. And from the back, they'll have like a white thing through the middle and be red as well. Gen 4 and Gen 3 are pretty common in Poland, with very, very occasionally find Gen 2. These are holy poles you can sort of see here, but the poles are a lot skinnier and the poles stop either at the top or the bottom. That's all good clues for Poland, and yeah, typical Polish signage here as well. So yeah, all good clues for Poland. And let's head on over to Ukraine. So in Ukraine, only Gen 3 cam, no Gen 4, no, none of that. The plates, as you can sort of see here, a bit hard to see, but they have like a blue and a yellow strip on them. It's a bit hard to see. There's a better clue. You can sort of see it's blue and yellow on that plate there. That's a Ukrainian license plate because it's the colours of the flag. If it all makes sense, kind of. Sometimes it's a bit hard to see, but you know, you can sort of see there. That's blue and yellow for sure. So a very famous clue for Ukraine antenna, as most of you know, that is a Ukrainian car. You can find it very rarely in Belgium actually as well when you're in Europe, but most of the time it's Ukraine. Ukrainian flags, they love displaying like blue and yellow everywhere, so that's a good thing to know for Ukraine as well. And they use Cyrillic as well, so these are all good clues for Ukraine. Let's go to Russia. Russia. So, oops. Russia. In Russia, they also use Cyrillic, kind of quite similar to Ukraine, but the plates will not have any blue or yellow strips on them. They'll just be plain white, no blue strip, no Ukrainian strips, none of that. Just be plain white, long plates. So that's a good clue. These crossing signs with a detached head with 3 dash Ukraine and Lithuania. But if you have the yellow border around the pedestrian crossing sign, then that's going to be only Russia. As I said, Cyrillic is found in Russia. It's probably the most common country we find it. And the most common, you find Gen 3 and below Gen 4 there as well. But I've just picked a Gen 3 location. And in Gen 3, most of the time you have the black car here with a long antenna. But there are some other variants. But most of the time these are probably the clues you'd have for Russia. Okay. And let's go to the Baltics to finish it off, I guess. So the Baltics, we got Lithuania. The Baltics can be very difficult to tell apart, but let's see what we got. Actually, these yellow stones are also found in Lithuania, I forgot to mention, but yeah. This is short for Gatve in Lithuanian, that's G dot. This is a very Lithuanian street sign. You see this? Go Lithuania. What else do we see? These poles, this kind of like metal thing with a shape like that, kind of, that's a very Lithuanian pole top. Gen 3 and 4 are found in all Baltic countries, so not particularly helpful with camera generations. And yeah, it's probably the main clues I have here for Lithuania. Next location, we are here in Lithuania again. And here I want to show you some Lithuanian bollards. They're a bit thicker than the Latvian ones, and they have like it's actually sort of like an orange reflector more than red one, but it can look red sometimes. It's actually an orange reflector, so that's Lithuanian bollards for you. This is a Lithuanian sign. When you have lots of A's and I's in a Baltic looking country, Lithuanian is a clue I'd say there. And yeah, very Baltic looking landscape as well, so all good clues for Lithuania. Latvia, here we go in Latvia. We have, again, very Baltic looking, but what can I tell we're in Latvia rather than the other two. Here we have a street sign saying Iela, that is street in Latvian. So that's a good clue to tell you're not in Estonia or Lithuania, but you're going to be in Latvia. And yeah, that's probably the main clue I'd have in this location, Latvia. This one we've got in Latvia again. We have we got some bollards again here, as the Baltic bollards vary slightly. As you remember, Lithuania has chunky bollards, whereas Latvia has flat bollards, and they have a yellow reflector instead of an orange one. Also very Latvian signage with the arrows on the blue instead, whereas Lithuania doesn't really have that much. And yeah, that's probably the good clues for Latvia. And then Estonia. Estonia is probably a bit easier to tell apart, I'd say, than Latvia, Lithuania. Here we have the bollards. So the bollards are like the Latvian ones, but they are actually slant instead. So that's a good clue for Estonia. Yellow reflector as well. And yeah, that's probably the main clue for this location. And in the last location for the video, we have another Estonian one. And here we have a slightly different crossing sign. It has 3 dashes like in Lithuania, Russia and Ukraine. The guy is a little bit different and the head is attached. And that is an Estonian exclusive pedestrian crossing sign. As you can see, it's a bit different to the one in the other 3 countries that I just mentioned. So, yep, Estonia. And yeah guys, that will conclude the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way in. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next continent, which will be Asia. I'll see you there. Goodbye.